The ancient port city stands at the farthest tip of the known world, where the Jade Sea meets the Saffron Straits. Its origins are lost in the mists of time. The Asshai say only that a city has stood there since the world began and will stand there until it ends. It is entirely built of an oily black stone of unknown origin. The stone drinks the light, basking the city in eerie darkness. The city is enormous, covering an area larger than Quaithe, Volantis, Old Town, and King's Landing combined. However, its population is no more than a market town. Because of the thick smog and undrinkable water, nothing grows in Asshai, except for a strange translucent plant called ghost grass. The neighboring river is black with ash and teeming with poisonous malformed fish, except at night when the surface emanates a ghastly green light. Asshai has a sinister reputation and is known to be a haunt of warlocks, wizards, alchemists, moonsingers, red priests, necromancers, aeromancers, pyromancers, blood mages, torturers, inquisitors, poisoners, gods' wives, nightwalkers, shape changers, and worshippers of the black goat, the pale child, and the lion of the night. All are free to practice whatever dark magic and obscene rites their hearts desire. The streets of Asshai are quiet and unwelcoming, with wanderers hiding behind masks and cloaks or traveling in covered palanquins. Perhaps the most disturbing thing of all, there is no children or animals to be found within the city. At night, only one house in 10 is lit.
So I guess this goes back to my original question of how is this a sustainable place? You know, like it sounds to me like a Chernobyl, where it's like none of the animals are edible. You can't grow any plants. You know, the water's not drinkable.
The answer's right there. It's gold and magic. If there was a giant gold mine behind Chernobyl and there were dragons hanging out there, there'd be people living in Chernobyl.
Okay, so my question is,
not even
what
as bad
do these
as Chernobyl? Like the adults aren't getting sick, as far as we know.
Well, that's the whole thing about there being no children. I don't know. Is like, do the people who live in Asshai know that the effects of whatever there is going to fuck up kids, so they have them and they send them elsewhere? Because the population has to be reproducing somehow.
It almost seems like it's not a place that people actually live. They only visit it, like it's a ancient monastery or something. Yeah. So they go. They don't bring their children, or whatever. They don't have children.
So where do the pyromancers go when they're finished visiting Asshai?
They take a honeymoon to the Manticore Isles to have some children.
Well, I guess they go there to study and feed off the dark magic that exists there, and then once they've learned or mastered some technique, maybe they go off into the world.
I don't know. I mean, to me, it sounds like a land of where, like, literally pyromancers and necromancers actually fucking live. It's not like where they go to train their craft. It's like that's where they come from, you know?
Well, I'm sure they live there, but I don't know if any – because it also describes them as wearing these masks and having to be tattooed, which almost suggests that they have to be sort of protected against whatever is just killing all life in that area. So I don't know. But I guess there's also traders that come there, and they're obviously not killed. Maybe they have to wear masks while they're doing their trading or whatever. But it seems like it almost like there is this radiation within the air that kills people if they don't.
Yeah, and if that's the case, where like if this is a place where you can't really live but only visit, then why the fuck would Jorah suggest to Dany that, hey, why don't we go to Asshai, and fucking live there, and it's like, what the fuck? That's a terrible idea. You want to go live at this place where like nothing is edible and we'll just die? That sounds like that's the same thing as committing suicide.
Well, Jorah's into some kinky dark shit and he wants to just try it out with Dany.
He wants to get a love potion for her.
So my question is, all these necromancers and fucking whatever the fuck else, mages and shit that live here, shadowbinders, what do they eat for lunch? Like, they
import the food.
Yeah.
Like, that's where the food's coming from. It's being imported from Yin and Yiti and all these other places in exchange for gemstones.
So the answer, is takeout. They get takeout for lunch.
You'd think traders would just be like trying to get there by the cartload to get all them gold and shit.
Well, it is. It's a thriving port because
there's no such thing as a civilization that sustains itself based on 100% imported food and water, right? That's insane.
Well, this one does. It's not a huge population. Like, they don't need that many people's amount of food.
And like, doesn't Melisandre? She doesn't even eat. She like sustains herself from magic, doesn't she?
Oh yeah, the light of R'hllor sustains
because magic.
Yeah.
Because magic is usually the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Melisandre, looks like she was eating some steak in Game of Thrones season 5.
Oh, she was spitting
eating some fish
in her napkin.
She was just moving that around on her plate. She wasn't eating anything.
What do you guys think about the reference to the lacquered masks and the fact that Quaithe has a lacquered mask. Is this where Quaithe came from?
She's certainly spent time there. Like, she's probably a legit shadowbinder, unlike Melisandre.
Yeah, because when she's there, she's isn't she tattooing sailors who are afraid to sail through the Valyrian, the smoking
That's the
sea?
show. Keep your cannons
Oh
separate.
no, that's not in the books at all. Cut that out.
I don't think
Cut that
so,
out,
no.
Duncan.
So somehow Ashara Dayne made it all the way over to Asshai, got that mask, and then made it back all the way to Qarth, right? That's basically what happened. Can we all agree on that or no?
She could have.
This is referencing the theory that the Sharadane is Quaithe.
Yeah, I mean, she is Quaithe, right?
Wait,
Preston
who's
Jacobs,
Quaithe?
Preston Jacobs thinks
Sharadane.
Dayne.
Oh, right, okay.
No, Linda from Westeros, she came up with this, I think.
Okay.
What evidence is there that she's Quaithe? I don't understand.
Because it's
Why
a
would she
woman
go-
and we don't get to
Because
see her
Quaithe-
face.
Why would she seek Dany?
Right, but
She's a Sharadane.
It's right, and the Danes are also ancient Valyrians. That's why they have silver hair and purple eyes. So
They're not ancient Valyrians. They just
have
happen to have purple eyes. No,
Well, they're
who-
Valyrian-ish.
They're,
has purple
they're first
eyes?
men, though, aren't they? They're descended from first men. It's just like a
The
coincidence.
Danes?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
No, man. The Danes
Yeah,
are Valyrian.
Why would the
No.
Danes be?
Uh-uh.
There's no Valyrians in Dorne.
They have the same features as Valyrians, but I don't think there are any proof that
It's not a
they're descendants.
coincidence.
They just have, and George R. R. Martin has specifically stated that like there's people in our world that have purple eyes, and they're just like very rare exceptions. Who's that actress? Like a famous actress 50 years ago, Audrey Hepburn, Katharine Hepburn,
Elizabeth Taylor had purple eyes, apparently.
Elizabeth Taylor.
Okay, on the wiki it says House Dayne is one of the most ancient houses in the Seven Kingdoms, claiming ancestry dating back 10,000 years to the dawn of days. And they came from the kings of Torrentine and the lords of Starfall, so they're pretty old. So it's probably just a coincidence.
And in looking up purple eyes at a wiki of Ice and Fire, note that George R. R. Martin has stated that Dane purple eye color is not related to Targaryen ancestry.
All right, whatever.
I told you
Stop,
so.
stop.
I told you so.
Stop depending on facts.
Yeah,
Why don't we get back
you
to
can use
Asshai?
cracks to prove anything.
So if we get back to Asshai, one thing I'd like to point out is that I don't see how like the port of Asshai should be considered the same country or the same region as Carcosa, because they just seem so separated. Like they're so far apart. There's a giant mountain range separating them. I wonder if they're really technically two different cultures.
I'm sure
Oh,
they were
yeah.
the same
I would-
culture.
Yeah, I don't think they were ever grouped together.
Oh, is Carcosa not technically in Asshai?
No, it's
No.
not.
No. Like if you look on the
Oh.
map, the peninsula that's covered in ghost grass, it doesn't even expand to Carcosa, so they would be
Right.
very different.
So then where's Carcosa?
It's like right on the opposite side. It's probably associated with Asshai just because it's the closest actual land city. City on the same continent to it. But it's
It
not,
is. So that
except for that Stigai one, which is not around anymore, right? That's like a ruin.
you've got the Shadowlands, and Asshai is at one tip, and all the way at the other tip is Carcosa. But the shadow doesn't necessarily extend to Carcosa; it sort of stops at the mountains of the Moor.
Right. So my question is what country or what region is Carcosa in?
No man's land.
It's in that weird area beyond, where you got the winged men and the shrikes and it's in that area where they're trying to keep people out of, right? Isn't that all
It's not a country; it's just the world beyond
the
the
mountains?
5 forts and the mountains of the Morn. So,
So
it's the mountains
all
of
the limits-
that's the region.
Right. So my question is all the limitations of Asshai, like not having any animals, not having any edible water or plants. That does not necessarily apply to Carcosa, right?
I wouldn't think so.
No. I think it's just a Shadowland property.
Carcosa could very well have arable land and drinkable water
Well,
and
it's on
stuff
the
like
shore
that,
of the
right?
sea, and there's a green, at least in the map, like it doesn't have that black, land around it that Asshai does.
Yeah. The Shadowlands, it's only the river that seems to be infected, and that sort of seems to cut off as it goes into the mountains. I think it stops just beyond Stigai, and that seems black, like purple black. Whereas if you go up to the Hidden Sea, it seems just dark blue. So I don't think it's infected.
So what do you think is going on at the city of the Winged Men?
George made a reference to that. He was like, and as you get this far east, people might say, yes, there are winged men at this city. So I don't want to say exaggeration because I'm sure there's something messed up going on there, but I don't think it's like winged men flying around.
No,
That would be too
probably
cool.
not. We don't even know what the name
I wonder
is.
if that's what a lot of the dragons are, because Apparently in Asshai, dragons still roam, right? That's the myth.
In the
Yeah.
Shadowlands, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
it said that dragons and demons and worse dwell in the Shadowlands.
I wonder if the dragons from the Shadowlands are a little different from the dragons that Dany has, or the dragons of ancient Valyria, or the Targaryens. Because you know how there's Asian dragons, and then there's medieval dragons, and they're kind of different from each other.
In that they all never
they're
existed.
like water dragons.
Well, isn't it written that the original inhabitants of Asshai went to Valeria and taught them how to use and fly dragons?
No,
That's one of
you're
the
thinking of
theories.
Sothoryos. Wait, aren't you thinking of Sothoryos?
No, I thought it was Asshai that the people of Asshai, like this ancient race in Asshai, were the first people to tame dragons, and they taught the Valerians how to use it.
Yeah, that's one of the theories. And then there's another one from Sothoryos, which says that the Valerians got the wyverns and mixed them with the blood fireworms. Many theories to keep track
To
of.
create dragons. Okay. So there's a theory that the Valerians created dragons.
So when you go beyond the five forts, right, and that's like they're beyond the wall, what the difference between there beyond the wall and the Westeros beyond the wall is that instead of like constant winter, it just seems like a cold desert
Yeah.
as opposed to, right? So it's more like a lack of precipitation as well.
Yeah, I think it's a cold desert.
Okay.
So beyond the five forts, you have the land of the Shrikes, which is people described as like reptiles and with poisonous teeth.
It's the lizard people.
But Yandel suggests they may be just like men, savages who dress up in like crocodile suits and things. And then there's Kadath, which is a city that even the Shrikes fear. And it's described as... what is it? A semi-legendary city whose inhabitants claim it to be the first and the oldest in the world. It is said unspeakable rites are performed there to shake the hunger of mad gods. I think it's another Lovecraft reference. There's a story
Kadath.
called the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, or Kadath.
What about Bonetown?
Bonetown is described as being made out of bones, and they also trade in strange aged bones, and it overlooks a valley called the Dry Deep, which contains no water or life.
So this is probably where Vice Teloro came from, right? These are just ancient people from Bonetown, maybe?
It's a bit of
making shit up at this
bit of a leap.
Yeah, that's...
They really love bones.
And if you look beyond Kadath and Bonetown at the map, there's like this desert part called Cannibal Sands. I wonder if that's where ancient what's that fucking island?
Skagos?
Yeah, is that where the Skagos came from?
Maybe. Yeah.
All right,
I'm just-
Jacobs.
So we're just
That's enough.
throwing darts at a dartboard now.
I'm just making like the loosest connections between one part of the planet and the other.
Before we move off from Asshai, I did want to talk a bit about the Shadowlands themselves. So yeah, as frightening as the people of Asshai are, even they fear to venture upriver into the dreaded region known as the Shadow, a mountain range wreathed in smoke and smog and allegedly crawling with demons, dragons, and worse. The people who dwell here, the Shadow Men, are heavily tattooed, wear red wooden masks, and are deeply feared by the southern people of Yeti, whom they commit bloody raids against. Only one city is known to exist within the Shadow, and it's called Stygay, the Corpse City. No adventurer or explorer has ever been there to tell of its contents. And the way Stygay is spelled made me thought it might be an allusion to the river Styx, which is the gate to the underworld in Greek mythology. So I was wondering if Stygay is like this like gate into hell or something, and like the Shadowlands sort of pour out, and Asshai just sort of rests just outside the border of the Shadow and feeds off that dark magic.
There's also something called the Stygian Abyss. What is this? It's a video game, but that was made in like 1997. Oh, okay.
George could have played it after.
Yeah. Remnants of a failed utopian civilization, and okay. Yeah, it was very popular, so I think it could be a reference to that.
Also, there's the Strigoi is like kind of like a catch-all for like mythological vampires and weird creatures in like Eastern European cultures. I know like the what was that TV show that was based off the Strain? That's what they on the flashbacks to like ancient Romania, like they were calling the vampires Strigoi or Strigoi. I forget how they said it. But yeah, it's got the STR and the G and the Y in there.
I had a theory about the Shadowlands and I think one of you guys mentioned it, but it might have been sort of like the Yeti meteorite. It might have been like a poison meteorite that crashed into this region and just sort of soured the water and the soil and made it impossible for life to grow there. And I thought it might be an allusion to this biblical thing called wormwood, which is this evil star that falls on the earth during the Book of Revelations. And it says it blazes like a torch and it turns a third of the world bitter and kills many people and blackens the sky. And maybe like the Asshai have sort of built up an immunity, or they've figured out some kind of magic or some kind of mask technology to shield themselves from the poison, but everything else in that region has died.
Except for those
And
fucking fish.
maybe like, because they don't know who built the black city, but maybe that was the meteorite and they carved the city out of the meteorite and it's this oily black stone.
Or maybe the original inhabitants were wiped out and they needed to wait for the radiation levels to go down. I don't know. Many possibilities.
You think if you keep sailing past the Saffron Straits, you'll eventually just hit the Iron Islands, and that's where the sea stone chair came from?
Well, everyone thinks that the world is round. Like, somewhere in the world of Ice and Fire, the Maesters, they're like, oh, it's commonly accepted that the most sensible idea is that the world is round. So, yes.
So what are how many instances do we have of the oily black stone? We've got the sea stone chair on the
Should we
shores
go
of
left
Norwich.
to right
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
on the
one.
map?
So sea stone chair, we've got the
Town.
labyrinth fortress that makes the foundation of Hightower,
Which is fused
Two.
black stone.
fused blackstone, but it is described as oily, I think.
Yeah, but we'll include it anyway. Now,
The-
are we just going oily black stone or like tales of fish people?
yeah, you can include that. Yeah.
Because off Crackclaw Point, we have the tales of the Squishers.
The squishes, yes.
And up by Lorath, we have supposedly those maze makers were destroyed by a people from the sea.
And I thought
Oh,
the labyrinth might be a connection between the Hightower labyrinth and the Maze Maker's labyrinth in Lorath, because they both appear.
Well, I'm pretty sure I'm the one that made that suggestion in that episode.
oh,
Duncan,
did you?
so
Okay, sorry.
Don't take credit for my work, okay? Please.
Citation, Augustine.
Thank you.
And then going to Sothoryos, you have the Isle of Toads, which has the weird idol that makes everyone fish-faced.
Yep.
Oh, and crap, going back to
Six.
Three Sisters, they all have the fish mark. All the women on the Three Sisters Islands, they've got fish fingers.
And I
Seven.
think in Lovecraft, the idea of the deep ones was that they would mate with humans on coastal cities. So you have people like the people of the Three Sisters and the people of the Shattered Islands or the Thousand Islands who have like a half fish. So that's kind of, yeah.
What else was
And then Volantis, there's the oily, the bridge.
So that's drag and
it's-
fire.
It's
That's
black stone, but it's not oily. Neither is the
canonically Valyrian.
Okay.
The only other city apart from Asshai is the ancient city of Yeen in the middle of Sothoryos. That's made entirely of black stone, and it's been abandoned for thousands of years, but the jungle has refused to touch it.
Yeah, bad
That's
happens to
8.
people. And then you've got the Thousand Islands, where they've got all those fish-shaped gods, and they're all afraid of the sea.
Right.
Yeah.
That's, what, 8, 9?
Then we go to Leng. I would count Leng. I don't know if you guys are going to count it, because it's got like subterranean old ones and all that shit.
Yeah, I don't know if the old ones and the deep ones are the same thing, but
Yeah, they could
it must
be
be
different.
related somehow because they're both ancient.
Then you have the 5 forts, that's 11.
Yep.
And a Shire
And then
Fort.
you have Stigai, it's 12, Asshai. I guess if you can maybe lump all of Asshai together, but
Mm.
yeah. So
Yeah.
there's really like I wonder if you put a dot at each of those parts, if that spells a word or something like that, or there's some weird like fucking, like this is like the real like answer to like this is the real story of what George R. R. Martin is trying to tell in his.
It spells R
It
plus
is.
L equals J. It's like, oh, we already knew that.
we
It
don't need
spells
that.
Liana.
Just the hand giving us.
Was there anything beyond the wall? Was there anything in the north beyond the wall that was blackstone or oily stone?
I don't know if Hardhome counts. I kind of don't really think it does, but like there was lots of
Probably
fire
not.
and yeah. But yeah, what it does suggest is that all along the coastal areas of the world, there was obviously some great civilization that would build huge things, and it seems that they would meddle with the humans from time to time, and now they're all gone.
Yeah. What do we think? What do we think is going on over on Altos and Ullos?
Yeah, because it's called the Saffron Straits. So is this purple shit that's on there saffron, or is it just some other freaky ghost grass stuff?
Didn't one of you guys suggest that Ullos was basically the Australia of this planetos?
Yeah, that was me.
No, Sothoryos has to be Australia because everything on Sothoryos is trying to kill you.
That's true, yeah. Well, this is like the fourth continent that we've come across in this world, Ullos, and we only see the very tip of it, and literally the only thing we know about it is that it's located in the southeast and that it's covered in jungles. But I think Martin said somewhere that it's basically meant to represent that this isn't the end of the world. There's actually much more world that exists, and in medieval times, when an explorer didn't explore something or they were afraid to go there, they basically said, "Here there be dragons," and that's what Ullos is meant to represent.
Oh, so there's also dragons. Are they Australian dragons in this case?
They're not literally dragons. They just means no one's been. They're just
Are they
danger.
Komodo dragons?
Yeah, they're
Dragons.
Komodo dragons.
Dragons.
That's New Zealand.
Oh, so
What do you guys think? So going back to when we're at really the kind of the edges of the map here. There's also Masavi, which is like north. It's like a forest north of the Grey Waste. I wonder what the fuck's going on there. You know what I mean?
I heard a theory that it might be inhabited by the Children of the Forest because you get those other guys, the Ifaquevron, who there's a forest just west of the Bone Mountain where they live, and in the Masovi, it's described that it's filled with shapeshifters who might be that's a magic that the Children of the Forest possess.
Yeah.
And like it might have been the Children of the Forest who shattered the Thousand Islands because the Deep Ones had found like a foothold on the Earth, and like they did with the Neck of Dawn and the Arm of Dawn and the Neck in Westeros, they shattered it and send the Deep Ones back into the water.
Oh, that's clever. That's really good.
Something obviously happened at the Thousand Islands, whether it was natural or magical, but something went down there.
It's just the image is very striking. Like, yeah.
I wonder if in the Grey Waste there's like sandwalkers, which are basically just like the desert version of the White Walkers.
Well, we
Desert
get something.
zombies.
We get all these terms in Asshai, and I recognized a couple of them, but there's something called a Night Walker. Do you guys have any idea what that is? I thought maybe like a vampire or something. I don't know. Like they drink blood to sustain life or something.
Yeah, and then maybe like they seduce 17-year-old girls in high school and fight with wolves.
Even though they're 106 years old, which is like really gross.
I think it's possible. It sounds like a really good story. Someone should write that story.
Definitely.
I'm sure someone's written that story.
The Isle of Elephants. What do you guys think happens there? Like, I think that's... First of all, like, we're not talking real elephants here. We're talking, like, pygmy elephants, right? Because there's no way you can have an island of giant elephants and have them be sustained, right? It's got to be pygmy elephants. That's what I picture. You guys agree or no?
Yeah, probably. It's also described as the guy who rules it has an ivory tower, so maybe it's just lots of ivory there. But yeah, probably pygmy elephants.
So what's Manticore Isles? You think that's just like islands of like a shitload of insects and shit?
Yeah, pretty much. That's literally all we get. Just one sentence, lots of manticores here.
We're really just like fucking just grasping for straws at really the edges of the known world.
We're squeezing every drop out.
Yeah.
There's also
I like how Augustine is just like points here. What do you guys think of this? What do you guys think of this? I don't have answers, but I'm thinking about it.
But that's all we can do at this point when we're so far away of the planet and we're so very much at the end of the world, and there's very little information that's even given in the encyclopedia.
Yeah.
We're kind of just stuck at guessing, you know?
Yeah,
But that's
which is
intentional.
which is good. Yeah. I don't want to know
answers.
I don't want to know everything. I want to think there's like lots more beyond that. There's lots more to unpack, but we'll never know. It'll just exist in the background of the world.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe as a little wrap-up discussion, we could see if we can remember what all the 9 wonders that Thomas Longstrider identified throughout these, because I think we get 7 by the end of this section. Do you guys?
Oh wow, 7.
Yeah. Do you guys want to?
Like 3.
I've written them down here. Do you guys want to see if you can guess what they are?
So one is the 5 forts, right?
Well, that's not identified, but I reckon it probably would be. The only reason it wouldn't be is if Thomas never actually went there.
Right.
So yeah, I reckon it should be, obviously, because it's bigger than the wall, but it's possible he hasn't been there.
Well, you have the wall, obviously.
Yep, that's one.
You have the Great Pyramid of Marine.
Great Pyramid of Gis.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
You'd
that's
have
true.
the Long Bridge of Volantis.
That's 3.
Is the Titan of Bravos another one?
Yep, that's 4.
I gotta get one of these.
Is the Mother of Mountains one or no? No, that's not Matt. The Wall?
Can I phone a
Is that
friend?
one?
I just said that.
Wall's been said.
Oh, okay.
Is one of them still not around anymore? Like it's been ruined, or
Yeah, there's one ruin. It's in Sarnath.
It's
where?
Okay.
It's in Sarnath. You know, that old kingdom.
The Hall of 1,000 Doors.
Yeah, the Palace of 1,000 Rooms, yeah.
Right.
You guys suck.
Yeah, that's just like a hole of 1,000 doors. That's exactly what that sounds like. Wasn't the one in on the Rhine like this
The Palace of Love and Beauty.
Palace of Love. No, that's not one of them.
okay.
No, it should be. That's a good one. Though. Maybe that's one of the ones that hasn't been listed. Possible.
What about the goat thingy in Kohar?
The Black Goat of Qohor.
No, that's not one.
Is there any others in Westeros or no?
There's one in no, there's no other confirmed ones in Westeros. There's one in Norvos.
The bells.
Isn't
the bells.
Yep, the bells.
On fire.
Are the Valyrian roads? Do they count or no?
That's another one.
Okay.
That's it. And there's one in Karth.
The 7. Is it the city itself, or is it the?
Oh, is it the walls, right?
Yeah.
The
It's walls of
ring-head
Karth?
gates.
The triple wall, yeah.
Oh, I get
Okay.
that counts. I got that.
Yeah,
one.
no, Greg got one. I think that's all 7. So there's 2 more that haven't been confirmed. And I thought maybe the Palace of the God Emperor, because it's described as this palace that's made of gold and it's bigger than King's Landing. And the only other 2 I thought might be on Westeros, which would be Harrenhal, which is the largest castle in Westeros, and the High Tower of Old Town. Do you guys think of any other ones?
When was Lomas Longstrider alive? Because Harrenhal's only 300 years old.
That's
That's a good question.
I don't know. Well, yeah,
Harrenhal looks
because
like shit, so I
the 1,000 room palace would have been destroyed by then, so maybe it is prior to the conquest. Yeah.
I wonder if the sea stone chair would count as one just because it's made of black oil.
It doesn't really have that like grand.
Not even the Iron Throne, which is like huge. It's just a shitty chair.
Yeah, but it's a chair that was there fucking forever, man. No one knows who made it.
Yeah.
It predates the entire like Ironborn civilization.
Well, it might not have been made by man though.
Right. Well, you
There's
can say the
there's
same
7
thing about the
others.
5 forts.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
There's 7 other wonders that are made by the squishy people, which he has to.
Yeah.
Did we mention the ice dragon that's at the wall? Because that would be another one. The ice dragon.
As a man-made wonder.
Yeah. It's made by
He's just
made by
trying to get me
Maester
started
Yandel.
on my ice dragon.
He's trying to provoke Greg.
Apparently, we don't even know when, like specifically when Lomas Longstrider lived. Like they have to narrow it down based off of like what characters said about.
Yeah.
You know, Tyrion's memorized his book, so it must have been at least, and then Barristan mentions him, so we don't know. I assume it's after the conquest, but at least 100 years before like Game of Thrones starts.
Yeah. It really does depend. Any thoughts on the natural wonders?
What about the neck of the north, like the swamps?
What, a big ass swamp? That's not a wonder.
Yeah, I don't know if Lomas Long's trying to be that impressed by a swamp. It is
Is
big.
Mississippi a natural wonder of the world? No.
It should be.
It should be.
I like how you just think Mississippi is a giant swamp.
Louisiana.
Yeah, you got to make fun of Shane's name.
Poor Shane.
You mean what? West Louisiana direwolf? Another natural wonder would have to be what about the Arm of Dorne?
I thought like the Royne's got to be one.
That's got it.
Biggest river.
And the Bone Mountains, like that must be the biggest mountain range to the known world.
What about the Womb of the World?
Separate thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Any more to say, or should we wrap up?
Oh, quickly, should we just do Orientalism and what our final thoughts are? Is George Orientalist?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
But you're the one who brought this up. So what do you think? I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, yeah, I wrote a couple of points. We've mentioned this before. It's striking in the later sections as we get further and further from Westeros how outlandish and mystical the descriptions become, and part of this is obviously probably just misinterpretations and exaggerations, but I think it's also like a deliberate nod to the way Eastern cultures were depicted by European historians. And the process is dubbed Orientalism, and it's the way that the East, quote unquote, is painted as inherently exotic and backwards and stagnant and crumbling, in contrast to the West, which is painted as familiar and developed and rational and progressive. And that's not to say that Europeans didn't praise and were in awe of the civilizations of Asia and the Middle East, but the way they are continually reinforced as a past civilization, which has reached this sort of apex and is now in decline. And you see that, the analogy often given is that civilization advances with the sun. So it rises in the east and it sets in the west. And you see that in the world of Ice and Fire. You begin in the east, in the ancient times, with the empire that's called the Empire of the Dawn, so the beginning, and where everything is dry and dead, and even the name The Bones implies this graveyard. And then life moves out of the bones with the Dothraki as they migrate to fertile lands. Civilization reaches this kind of adolescence, I guess, with the Valerian freeholds. It's magnificent, but it flew too close to the sun. It shifts to the economy of the free cities, and then finally reaches a kind of maturity, I guess, if you want to call that, in the unified realm of Westeros, aka the Sunset Kingdom. So the sun is setting. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, first of all, I would say that the fact that the Iron Islands are in the far west, that disproves that whole theory.
Yeah, definitely.
In all seriousness, I think to a certain degree, it wouldn't ring true if George didn't do this. So I think the fact that he does do this is very much an intentional thing to reflect our own history. And so to call him an Orientalist or to call him somehow a racist or something like that would be disrespectful towards the fact that he's very much just oftentimes paying homage to whatever the actual history of our own planet was, and it would be kind of dishonest for him not to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. The same way he presents misogyny and classism, he's presenting Eurocentrism.
Right.
And he also does kind of go out of the way, at least in the Worlds of Ice and Fire, to put on paper how he gives the Yeti the credit for the invention of the first civilization and the first people to have literature and use paper to write stuff down. So it's a very, we forget that gunpowder, paper, all this stuff, this all came from from the East before we got it, but he's giving it back to them in a sense in this book.
I think in the main novels, a lot of the characters display Orientalism. Like when Tyrion first goes into Pentos, he's essentially parroting his father when he's like, "Oh, these cheese lords and spice kings," but they're all stupid because they won't fight wars like us Westerosi do. But it's up for you as the reader to see past that and see that the free cities are the best place, much better than Westeros.
I still think the Summer Isles are the best place.
Oh yeah, the Summer Isles, they're also really nice.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if in the future, E.T. will start inventing cars that will be much more popular in Westeros, and children from Lang will perform much better in math and science standardized exams. What do you guys
trying to think which character we're going to get a point of view where the standardized test of Lang show up.
I sort of wonder, because the Orientalist mindset was used as a justification for colonization. So I'm wondering if in the future, once Westerosi develops modern cities and naval technology, they'll return to Sothoryos and Essos and start trying to create colonies. Especially the Crusades, I guess. That was the first really sort of unification of the West because they had this common enemy and they were united under Christendom, and that was the justification that they would go back and they would retake not only colonies but sacred places. So, and we do have, there are religions in Westeros that have sacred places back in Essos, like the Rhoyne for the Dornish and the hills where the Andals were first seen. So maybe as religious fundamentalism becomes more powerful and more established in the state, in the Seven Kingdoms, maybe there'll be this return to Essos for those reasons.
Yeah, I would wish them all the best, because I just don't see how the free cities would put up with that shit. As much as, and this goes back to my original argument of what would happen if Westeros went to war with the 9 free cities. That would be a very interesting matchup, because certainly the 9 free cities would be like, we're not cool with you Westerosi just fucking taking shit over here. This is our land. I think that would be much more challenging for the Westerosi to do that versus, say, maybe set up a colony in Sothoryos. where perhaps the infrastructure is not set up. But good luck trying to take land away from the Bravosi or from the Pentoshi. You know what I mean? I don't think that's happening.
Sorry, what's bizarre about the free cities is how little religion plays a role. Because you have the Bravosi and they have this very equal opportunity religious thing. But none of the other free cities seem to have a prominent state religion.
Well, the Norvos.
Yeah, the Norvosi, yes.
Norvos and Lorath, which were all religious colonies, but yeah, the rest, Mir, Lys, and Tirosh, they don't have any.
Well, I mean, Volantis. What about Volantis? They seem to be very prominently like the Red God.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the invasion would have
the biggest temple is.
It would have to first come in the form of like conversion, so they would try and convert the cities to like this faith of the seven thing before invading the interior.
Yeah.
But who knows? I don't think we'll get that far in the books.
Oh, actually, yeah, that's what would happen. Just as the Roman Empire was converted to Christianity, the free cities will accept the faith of the seven. And, because the free cities are essentially Italy in my mind.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that concludes the third installment, which is also the final installment of our Lands Beyond the Sunset Kingdom discussion.
Duncan wins. He finished his assignment.
I win.
For,
Across the finish line first.
Good job, Duncan.
I expect my trophy.
Who's it? I'm tied. I think the others are me. Zach's done 2, right? He did. Did he just do 1?
I think he did the Iron Islands, and he was going to do.
He's doing
the
Lannis. Yeah. I have to do Dorne, I think.
Okay.
I forget. Or the Vale. The Vale is next.
I mean, you can.
We'll get to it.
You can do whatever you want. You don't it's.
I know.
If you want to do a different area, that's fine. It's not set in stone or anything.
I know.
Be passive aggressive and feed them to the
Westerlands.
You're like, yeah, it's my podcast now, bitch.
Yeah, that'll go down well. But yeah, you can stay tuned for future episodes on the World of Ice and Fire, as well as the full reread of A Game of Thrones, which is happening at the moment, as well as plenty of other movie, TV show, and video game reviews. If you'd like to join us for an episode or have any comments or questions you'd like us to address, please let us know in the forum thread. I'd like to thank our hosts, which is Greg, Michael, and Augustine. This has been the Vassals of Kingsgrave. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.